Now, despite Arsenal being in a mini injury crisis, a lot of the players look like they're going to be returning in the next coming weeks. But a big surprise to that list is Gabriel Jesus, who is now in full training, which is big news for Arsenal. And today we're going to look into why. So let's get into it. Now, today we're going to have a little bit of a sit down and talk about some of the injury news that we've got with Arsenal and some of the news that has been regarding the club over the last couple of weeks, which you may have missed. Now, obviously, the big headline news is the fact that Gabriel Jesus, out of nowhere, is in full training for the team. Now, we saw the teaser about 3 or 4 weeks ago where he was starting to play on grass again, and we asked the question of when he was going to be back in the team. But Arteta, in most press conferences, has continued to say that he won't be back until December or January, and there's been a lot of rumours that Arsenal are going to try and let go of him in January to Brazil, so that could have been his last ever game for their club. However, with the fact that Arsenal have constant injuries, especially to their forward line with Havertz, Woklz, Martinelli, Odegaard and Madueke all being out, Jesus actually fits in this team perfectly well. If you look at the bench in the last couple of games, abide maybe 1 or 2 of them actual big starters that can come in. A lot of the players are youngsters. And of course, people like Max Dowman are an incredible youngster that isn't just a nobody. He can easily play, but he's still a very inexperienced player that we shouldn't have to rely on, which is great that we've got some senior players coming in. Gabriel Jesus is also a weird player. Obviously, last season he really struggled with injuries yet again and really his performances until he had that real good purple patch in December where he was fantastic for 3 to 4 games. And he looked like the Jesus of old, picking up great positions, working with Havertz in a 2 up front sometimes. And ultimately that didn't last as he tore his ACL in that Manchester United game. Another point of Arsenal's season turning into turmoil after the Saka injury and then the Havertz injury after. Now, although he's just come back on grass, you expect a lot of time still to pass for him to be able to play for Arsenal. However, with an international break coming up for 2 weeks' time, there might be a thought that Jesus might make the bench in the future of our games. Maybe that Chelsea game he could definitely make the bench for in the future. Now, this isn't going to be a player that probably starts for Arsenal. We have Havertz, we have Woklz. I think what Arteta wants right now and how the squad works, they make a lot more sense. And with the amount of games he's played over the last 2 years, he's probably going to be quite rusty for a very long time. And he still may not be in the future plans, which is a big thing given his wages. However, Jesus can definitely contribute. He can come in them games where maybe one of the other strikers is injured and he can play in these cup games that we've got, especially a lot of the games against weaker sides where he can come in and play because we know his quality. And it allows Arsenal to still play a little bit of a different style. He's very different to a Woklz, he's very different to a Havertz, a more skillful false 9 type of striker, which could really work rather than having 2 target men or big men up the forward area to give us that little bit of difference. Now, he's not the only injury news that we have returning after the international break. It looks like Madueke will be fine. It looks like Havertz might make the team, and we expect Woklz and Martinelli to be fine for that game as well, only picking up a slight knock in the last week. That means if Arsenal get through the Sunderland game at the weekend and some of our players get through the international break who are going, we will have a lot of our team fit for the first time, I think, in a very long time. Now, we'll see how long that actually lasts. We know what Arsenal are like. We know how hard they work, which I do think leads to more injuries, but we also know it's a lot about luck and everyone's getting a lot of injuries at this high of the game right now. But it's going to be super fun to see the team in full motion, which I think can be a big part. Now, one player that we've actually seen come back from injury recently is Piero Hincapié from his start at the club. Now, he didn't play for a very long time. He's actually played quite a bit over the last couple of weeks and looks better and better. I think he's looked really good personally. And not only him, people like Norgard have also had a long time out at the sidelines when he first joined. Now they've come into the team, they're playing a lot more, and it's good to see. Now, the reports are that actually Andrea Berta kind of pushed the Hincapié signing at the end of the window alongside the Eze. Apparently our window was actually over before we signed Eze and Hincapié, and that was the plan all along. But Berta stamped his authority on the situation like a proper elite world-class sporting director does and said that we need the players in now. He apparently made promises that he will get Zinchenko to leave the club no matter what, even if it's just his wages gone, which he ended up doing somehow on the last minute of the window. And he promised he would also get money for people like Kivior and be able to buy a Piero Hincapié, making sure the finances come in next year, which he did this kind of 2-way loan deal where even us or Bayer Leverkusen have to agree it next summer, which puts the money next year, not now. Now, this is just great use of the finances and shows how much revolutionary ideas he's had since he's come in just a few months ago. Now, I know people still criticised him heavily before the Eze thing, but it's quite clear that it wasn't Berta's decision to not sign anyone else. He wanted these players in, and in the end, he got it done, getting rid of a lot of that dead weight. Now, we can argue if that dead weight has been sold on not the best terms, a lot of them on loans. Fabio Vieira's been sent off twice, and I don't think that loan's going to ever be made permanent, so he'll be back. But yet again, these are not players that Berta signed, these are players Edu signed, so I don't really blame him too much for getting these deals. There's certain outs that these guys need to actually go out on loan and play well. The loans are not necessarily the best fit for some of them, but Reece Nelson at Brentford, he should be doing all right there, but he just can't get in the team for how well they're playing, which is not really on us at the end of the day. That's on Reece Nelson to force his way into that side. And I think overall that kind of caps off that window that we had last year, which looked really good. And there's been a lot of rumours that actually going into January that Arsenal might have some money to play with. I'm quite interested to see if Arsenal will buy an extra midfielder, because a lot of reports have been coming out from credible sources, you could say, or ITK, so maybe not, that Arsenal are looking at buying a midfielder, whether it be January or the summer next year. Now, realistically, we know Norgard is not a long-term signing. He was signed as a stopgap just for this season, because we knew that we had maybe a new player like Zubimendi coming in, and we needed someone who is assured in his position like Norgard, playing in the Prem for many years. We also know that people like Buadi, who's been a centre midfielder that I spoke about loads, box-to-box midfielder, tall guy, got a great carrying ability, a little bit like a mini Rice, but can definitely do a little bit of that defensive work as well. He is a player that could always help, and he's only just turned 18 in January. We could only sign him, so maybe that was an idea. And there's also players like Ugame, who's obviously been talked for a while now, and Javier Guerrero from Valencia. So there's a lot of young-ish central midfielders, central defensive midfielders that could really work. And I didn't really hate getting Norgard in if that needed to happen at the time, because we needed win-now players. And we can't argue we got that with Eze, arguably Madueke, even though there's a lot of improvement there to see, and someone like Gyökeres. And although they haven't been the perfect players, Eze and Gyökeres haven't been great every game we've played, we've won a lot of our games. We're on a 10 winning streak, 8 games in a row clean sheets, and they are a big part of that. They have really changed this outlook of the team, and it's going to be annoying that Gyökeres won't be able to play tomorrow against Sunderland, but it is what it is. But I also just want to mention that it's a good time to talk about Arsenal, I think, as a whole. I haven't really spoken about them since I've been doing these tactics videos for a while now, and genuinely things are really good at the moment. Not every game is the most interesting game in the world. I think a lot of teams have just given up actually attacking against us. Palace did that literally to a T. But I do think there's a certain level of Arsenal fans not taking this for granted, because this may not continue forever. We may lose to Sunderland tomorrow. Who knows with the team we're going to put out with the injuries that we have as well. But there's definitely a lot of ability to be hopeful. I would enjoy this moment. I wouldn't think about the negatives too much, because I think broadly every team has struggled this season. I think we're on another level to them, and we've had our own problems that we've had. And although, yes, with my content and how I talk about things, I'm very critical. I like looking at small things that I think should be better. But ultimately, when things are good overall, as much as I want them things to maybe improve in the future, and you shouldn't disregard them, you've got to enjoy the times. And I think this is a big moment for Arsenal where a lot of us really need this season to be good. We really do believe in this team, and we kind of know that maybe with this manager, if he doesn't do much this year, then it could be that last year. And I never not believed in him. I did believe in him. I made many videos about it in the summer, how I still trust this group of players. I trust this manager because I can see the quality 99% of the time. It's just about getting over the line and that 1% where we don't show it. But we have got a lot better this season. We've played different football, which I've wanted. Not necessarily just straight attacking football, but central access has been much better. The way we've been rotating a lot more, I've loved. I think we've needed that. And there were some of my major criticisms of us in the last couple of years, especially last year, which I wanted to change. And I'm glad that we are changing it overall. And don't let what people say in the media about Arsenal being boring, don't let people's opinions through tribalistic ways make you not believe in this squad. If you have a problem with this team, then that's absolutely fine. But a lot of stuff is going on right now where I just think is completely disagreeable. I think people are just trying to bait Arsenal fans into engagements, which I think works a lot of the time, but I don't think it's genuine. And I also think a lot of people are just trying to larp onto Arsenal and find ways to critique anything that they do. I've never seen Arsenal win a Premier League title. I know many of you probably have. And all I want, no matter what, is to win that Premier League title. And I don't care what means we get that done in. I don't care if we win by 35 points and we're done in March. I mean, I would like it, but I wouldn't mind if we won it by the last day of the season by a point or goal difference or goal scored or whatever it is. I just want to see Arsenal achieve big things. And we've waited a long time by playing good football, doing things by by the book and being genuine. And it hasn't really got us to that level where we've won anything, but we have been at a good enough level to win things. It's not like we haven't. Things just haven't gone our way. And at least some variance this season has been going our way, which I will take a lot more. Now, let me know in the comments what you guys think about Arsenal overall. And thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it as always, and I will see you in the next one.